Yes, lots of royal stories taking place today. So who better to discuss this with than royal commentator Michael Cole? Good morning to you, Michael. Let's start, shall we, with the Chateau Le Bois, the museum that is opening soon. What's your reaction to that? That'd be quite nice to go and visit.
Well, Ellie and Stephen, good morning to you on the first day of British summertime. We can all celebrate that. Yes, of course, this wonderful house in the Bois de Boulogne. I first went there in 1986, just shortly after the Duchess died. Duchess of Windsor died in 1986 in May. Her husband, the king who abdicated, Edward VIII, he died in 1972. And I went there. I was making a program for the BBC, which was called The Uncrowned Jewels, all about her fabulous jewellery collection, which the king, as Prince of Wales and as king, had given to her, telling her love story, their love story, the man who gave up his throne for the woman he loved, through the jewels. And it was quite a successful program. In fact, at the time, it was the most watched documentary on the BBC ever, only beaten by the documentary The Royal Family, of which the Queen was the owner. She still retains the copyright of that. And I went there many, many, many times afterwards. Interestingly, when the house was, there it is, it's beautiful too. It was actually originally built by Mr. Renault. Now, Mr. Renault collaborated rather wholeheartedly with the Germans during the Second World War, and he forfeited the house, and it became property of the French state, administered by the city of Paris and the mayor at the time, Jacques Chirac, and he offered the house. There it is. That's the bathroom. The photographs, the collection, were found in the bathtub after they died, and there are some of the beautiful photographs by Man Ray, and there's a picture of Queen Mary there. And Mr. Al Fayed, who just taken over Harrods, he took over the lease of the house and he turned it into a private museum, and the entry was by invitation only. There's the King's desk, and it was a wonderful place. And in fact, the King Charles III, went there at Mr. Al Fayed's invitation when he was Prince of Wales. And Mr. Al Fayed said to him, you can have anything you would like in the house, any of the King's possessions, because he bought the entire contents. And so the King, as Prince of Wales, could have had anything. And do you know what he chose? He chose a cushion about this size, and it had been made in Petit Point by the King. They were not great readers, the Windsors, and in the evening, if they weren't going out socializing in Paris, the King would stitch away, and he was very good at it, and this was quite common. He had been a sailor in the Royal Navy in his young days, and sailors were very famous for sewing. And the pattern on this beautiful cushion, which was, I remember seeing, was in black, silver, white, and a little bit of red, was the Prince of Wales feathers. The motto Ich dien, in German, I serve. And that's what the King chose as a souvenir of his great-grandfather. So it was, yes, it was fascinating. Actually. To think that ordinary people, the members of the public, can go in, there's even going to be a canteen there. Well, they'll be fascinated by it, because Mr. Al Fayed did a fantastic job of renovating it. And it really is quite a beautiful place.
Well, let me just tell you, Michael, I don't go anywhere that doesn't have a tea room. But it does sound very interesting. You say the Windsors weren't great readers. I wonder about the current king, whether he's going to be a great reader, because we hear, according to the Mail on Sunday, that Andrew is thinking about writing a royal memoir.
Well, yes, indeed. Well, I think if he does go ahead with that, Stephen, I think that will probably be a decision on a par with his decision to be interviewed by Emily Maitlis in November 2019. And we all know how well that turned out. Frankly, this is the last thing that Buckingham Palace could ever possibly want. And one has to ask why. Does he need the money that much? Perhaps he's encouraged by Prince Harry's huge success, selling thousands of copies, really many, many thousands of copies of Spare. Well, if you've read Spare, if you've ploughed through it, It really is quite a hard read, and tell you what it does reveal, how many times he talks about his drug taking. I'm talking about Prince Harry here. Drug taking, smoking weed on the beach, getting drunk, getting wasted. It really is quite depressing to realize that this man who had such tremendous advantages in life should be so wasted so often. I mean, he's grown up now. He's 38. He's got 2 children. Quite frankly, how would he feel if somebody said to him, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, they're going to grow up and they're going to be on drugs like you were? I should think he'd be horrified. But to revert to your excellent question about Prince Andrew, I should think this will be a horror story for the Buckingham Palace. However, I mean, were he to write that story, I think we'd be very interested to read it. I did his very first television interview in company with my colleague Anthony Carthew of ITN on the day the engagement was announced in the spring of 1986. And bear in mind, at that time, Prince Andrew was very, very popular. He'd served with distinction in the South Atlantic. He'd put his body in harm's way. He could have come back in a body bag like 255 of his fellow countrymen. And when he came back, the Queen was there at Portsmouth. He came down the gangplank, a red rose clamped in his very ample teeth. And he was the glamour boy of the royal family. It's so sad to me, and I know him quite well and have seen him at work around the world, to see him brought down to this level. But it does upset me, because he had such fantastic prospects. One can only imagine that he needs the money, or he's trying to send a message to his older brother, the king, be nicer to me or else.
Maybe. Michael, thank you very much indeed. The phrase, it is ample teeth, I think will stay with me forever now. Thank you very much indeed.